Hey, Matthew, let's take a look at your problem. I'm going to enter it in just like you have, and we'll see what we get for the values. Now, I can ignore the pi over 4 for now. I'll go ahead and get the upper limit and the lower limit, and then I'll subtract that out and then multiply the final answer by pi over 4. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, well, your top limit here is 5e, so I'll say 5e. And I'll store that in for X. So I'll hit the STO button, store it in for X. And the E, if you don't want to raise to a power, of course, you could have went second natural log and raised it to the first power. But if you just want the E without raising to a power, you use second division. So I take 5e, I'm going to store it in for X, and then I'm going to hit alpha colon. Now I can type in my function, and I'm just going to go all the way across in your problem here. The x to the 4th over 4 plus x squared over 2. I'm going to type in everything that you have there. So I'll say, okay, I have, and I think I'll use fractions here. Alpha y equals, I have x to the 4th over 4. And then your next fraction, you have plus x squared over 2. So plus alpha y equals fraction x squared over 2. Now, in your next group, you're subtracting the entire group. So I can say, well, oh, and actually I could go ahead and combine a term because you have minus an x squared over 2. That's really going to be plus an x squared over 2. So you have 2 plus x squared over 2 terms. You really have just plus x squared. Since I already have my fraction, I'll just proceed as I have it. Minus x squared natural log of x, so minus x squared natural log of x. We'll close the natural log of x out, we have to. Now, please keep in mind that next term has to be plus because it's minus a negative. So plus alpha y equals, and we'll have our fraction, again, x squared over 2. I wish I would have combined that with the other x squared over 2 term, but this will be okay. Now my last term is going to be minus the natural log of x quantity squared. So I'll say, okay, minus the group. And inside of that group, I'll have the natural log of x, close out the x, close out the natural log, and square it. So now if you don't do it like this, you'll be taking the natural log of x squared. We need the natural log of x quantity squared. Now, this should evaluate all of that at 5e. So I can say, okay, I've got my answer. Now I need to evaluate this same expression at your lower limit of integration, which is 8. So I can say, well, I'm going to pull all of that back up by hitting second enter. I'll scroll over, and in the place of that 5e in the beginning, of course, I'm going to type in an 8. It took me a while to scroll to it. I'll type in an 8, and then I'll delete off the e, just like that. Okay, now I have both answers on my screen. I should be able to get to my final answer. We know our final answer is pi over 4 times this upper limit minus the lower limit. That's precisely what I'll do. I'll say, let's create a fraction, pi over 4, and then we're multiplying that by this answer minus this answer. And you could just type them in, or I think I'll do this. That answer minus this answer. And we'll close out our group and just go back and make sure all of that's multiplying pi over 4. Absolutely, this will be our final answer. So I'm getting 5,714.757. Now, it just depends. I can't remember what they wanted this rounded to or on achieve. I'm assuming probably 3 decimal places. So I would assume that this should be a fine answer. Now, if for some reason they wanted it left in terms of pi, and again, I don't remember right offhand, I can go to it in just a second and look. I could easily divide that answer by pi and say, well, my answer is going to be 1,819.064 pi. Okay, so hopefully this helps out. Let me know if it doesn't.